All right. I'm here with my dog and my 1963 E.R. Fresner viola, which I'm going to give a little cleaning and a little love. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just dust the rosin off and kind of check the bridge. Today I eventually want to take off these fingerboard tapes, fingerboard markers. Bowed string instruments, violins, violas, cellos, basses, they are fretless, and we change the pitch of the string by pressing fully down on the string to make the string shorter. And without frets, we really need to use our ear and listen for the pitches and the resonance of the instrument for good intonation. So often there's different kinds of aids, which will put stickers or visual aids on the fingerboard to help us find our pitches. And I'd like to take those off today. So I'm going to dust a little bit, just get the rosin dust off and check the bridge. This bridge is beginning to warp. This bridge needs to be replaced. There should be a little bit of a curve towards the tailpiece, but this curve is a lot. This curve is too much. This is definitely a bridge which is getting a bit of a warp and needs to be replaced. But I am not doing that today. I'm just going to give it a little cleaning, and I'm definitely going to take off the fingerboard tapes. So to make that easier, I'm going to loosen the strings. And as I talked about in my last video, and I'll talk about again, the bridge is held on simply by the pressure of the strings. It's not glued. So when I loosen these strings, the bridge could come off. I've often had students get a violin, like a school violin. When I worked in school programs, I would get students, they would take their violin home and they'd be very excited. And we'd talk about maintenance and how instruments are fragile and need to be taken care of. And when learning to play an instrument, we're also simultaneously learning to tune an instrument. And when we're learning to tune, often strings will break. So when strings break, sometimes the bridge would come off. The tailpiece would get loose and move around, and students would think their instrument is completely broken beyond repair, but that's not always true. What happens is parts come off and come loose when the strings are loosened, which is why this bridge was able to come right off. To protect the instrument body from the fine tuners underneath, I'm going to place just a little cloth so the fine tuners and the tailpiece aren't rubbing up against the body of the instrument while the bridge is down. And I'm going to just move these strings out of the way so I can really get this fingerboard nice and clean and take off these marks. All right. So I'm better able to get my dust off the fingerboard. And now I'm just going to take these off, and maybe they'll come off just clean, come off right away, although that's would be unusual and highly unlikely. And sure enough, this is going to make a little bit of a mess. So I am going to take off as much as I can with just my, using my fingernails. But eventually I'm going to need some Goo Gone, which I have right here, which the oil from the Goo Gone will also give my varnish a nice little, little oil reinforcement, little touch up. And maybe I'll use maybe I'll need to use a very, very fine steel wool in order to get that last little bit of residue off. But I'm just going to start by making a mess here, getting it kind of under my nail. My three-legged dog approves of what I'm doing here, I think. I think he thinks I'm doing a good job. I know he thinks his bed tastes good. All right. Okay, now let's flip this over, get this tape off. All right. So I've got the main part off, and now I'm gonna get my glue gun here and just a little bit of cotton balls. Just a little bit goes a long way on this glue gun. Perhaps it's the citrus smell, which has gotten Charlie, my dog, very interested. And those two round stickers came right off with just a little bit of glue gun. I might have to work a little harder for this tape residue. Just a little bit. All right. Let's move these strings back into their grooves on the nut so I can get the sides of the fingerboard and the back of the fingerboard in a little bit better, a little bit cleaner. Now, luckily, when I loosened the strings to clean this fingerboard, the bridge came off, the tailpiece came loose, but my sound post remained up. And the sound post is a piece of wood that's inside all violins, violas, cellos, basses. It's a wooden dowel that connects the back body to the front body and helps the instrument resonate. And often when a string breaks or strings are loosened and the bridge comes off like this and the tailpiece comes off, the sound post will also fall. However, if the sound post is really well made and placed really well, then it won't fall. And that's the case here. And I can tell because as I move the instrument back and forth, I don't hear anything rattling around in there. If the sound post had fallen, you would hear you'd hear the piece of wood, the wooden dowel of the sound post rattling around inside there. But I don't hear that, so I know, and I can look inside and I can see that my sound post is in upright, connecting the top body and the bottom plate. So, looks like I got all this tape residue off, which is great. Got a little bit of glue gun residue now, so I'm just going to continue to wipe that down, wipe that off. And if it was really stuck on there, or if I needed a little bit of extra help getting those kinds of things off the fingerboard, sometimes I have had to use something a little stronger than glue gun. Sometimes people use all kinds of things to make markers on the fingerboard, and it's a little harder to get off. And if I needed to, I could use a real fine steel wool, just a real fine with a real light touch. Steel wool would remove any extra residue. All right, so now I got my fingerboard markers off. All right,